Welcome back to the Ascension series. So today is September 20th, 2023, and got a lot of questions from you guys, which is amazing. I have not been able to get to all the comments. I realize that. I am trying, guys, but it's just a little bit overwhelming right now. Today, what I want to talk about is soul purpose, divine purpose, what that looks like, and give you some stepping stones of what to expect during your ascension journey. Um, it's wild. So, and the reason I really want to do this topic today is because so many of you are feeling it. So many of you are feeling this knowing, this ache, this desire. I described it as an ache before it happened for me. Like it hurt, like this ache of I'm meant for something, like that pain, right? So let's break it all down. I'm not going to be able to do a live this week, but I will be back at that next week. The last live I did, one, thank you. I love you very much. There was a lot of emails that brought tears to my eyes and beautiful heart expansion. And you guys are amazing. Like be so proud of yourself right now. The other side of that, there was a lot of hate with that email, sorry, that live that I did. So it took me a couple of days to recoup. And then I decided to actually not read any of the comments moving forward for that one. In the last live on Restream. So it's on YouTube and Facebook both. We talked about the Dragon Realm activation, and I went into a lot of detail about that. And I got a tremendous amount of go unlive yourself because you're clearly possessed. That was fun. So here we are. So this week we're just doing Ascension. Next week we'll come back to the lives and I will power up a little bit more and grow some thicker skin because that was rough. Um, so there's that. There is a newsletter coming out very soon with a lot of interesting details in it. So please go sign up for the newsletter, diamondno.com. Um, I'm going to pour my heart out in that newsletter. So there's going to be a lot of interesting information coming forward, as well as, and this is why I want to talk about soul purpose today. I privately run mentorship groups, and I have been for a very, very long time. I have 2 on the go right now. And I keep seeing you. Like, if you're watching this, it's probably you. There's a lot of you that I keep seeing that are ready to really launch yourself into purpose on this planet. And I'm always honored when I'm the one that gets to help do that. I'm even more honored when you join the team here at Diamond Mentoring and launch yourself with us as a community. So I'm going to launch another one before. It was going to be in January, but I'm going to launch it a little bit sooner. The details, I'm finalizing those right now, and I'm trying to finalize my schedule as to how many I can take on with this group. Traditionally, the groups are 8 people only. This one, I believe I can take on 10 souls. So that I'm going to put a little bit of details of that in the newsletter, but please feel free to reach out to me if that's something that you're very much interested in. It is an investment. So just to give you a heads up. All right. Soul purpose. What is it? How do we do this? What does it look like? Sarah Rose and I are hosting a retreat on the 21 and 22nd. So that's this week, Thursday, Friday. That's tomorrow. It's sold out. However, you can grab the recordings of that retreat if you would like. It's you can just email us. It is on the website. You can register for it there and grab the recordings if you want. We're going into great detail on what needs to be done internally for the externally to match, and what is soul purpose and how to truly align with that. So I thought I would bring just a bit of information forward here because I'm getting a lot of questions on that. So soul purpose, a lot of you call it that. I prefer the terminology divine purpose. I'm not going to get into it here, but I really don't believe in soul energy. I believe more in like a consciousness stream. So the word soul doesn't really resonate with me, but so I call it divine purpose. And in that, it looks like you standing in your highest timeline. It's amazing. I am in my highest timeline. Where you are of service to humanity, but you are of service to self first. Do we have some feelings attached to, well, that's selfish and that's guilty, or whatever, right? I'm feeling guilty about it. So I want you to think about you as a bubble, as a vortex, as a bubble of energy. High vibration expands, low vibration becomes dense, like fire and ice. Ice, well, although ice expands, bad analogy, but you know what I mean? It's dense, it doesn't move, whereas fire can take over. Your vortex, when you look at the sacred flower of life, I want you to imagine that you are one of those circles, okay? And the brighter your, and this is why this is multicolored, the brighter your circle is, the more vibrant it is, the more it expands and infuses into the energy around it and has a ripple effect across the planet through sacred grids, through exchange, through thought, through word, through conversation, through physical, through all of those things. So the more you have, the more expansive you are, just standing in your highest timeline, which means your knowledge, your knowing, your universal wisdom, your trust, your surrender energy, your thriving energy, the more impact you are having on a positive level, a more expansive level to everything around you. When you are high vibration, people will either, like a bonfire, be like, oh, that's really nice, and they're drawn to you, or they're like, it's a bit too much. I'm going to go all the way over here. Hence the contrast in my comments on the videos, even on TikTok. Ugh. Anyway, so you have to fill your bucket. You have to become the highest vibration for your experience, for this meat suit experience, in order to really be in divine purpose, which means healing any thoughts associated with selfish or self-serving, healing greed, making sure that you're not in that vibration of greed, really fulfilling what fulfills you. The more you heal, the higher you evolve. The healing journey doesn't end because we're constantly healing things like your perception on money, your relationship with money. My relationship with money is consistently healing. It's turning into something different every single month, every single year. Like, it's always evolving. It's always healing my perception of what was into what will be. Same thing with my romantic relationship, my partner. It keeps evolving and getting better and better. And we're healing what has held us back from that high expansion as we move through it. Your own internal healing of your subconscious beliefs, your inner child, any trauma. You do not have to have a life of trauma in order to require healing. Healing is part of the human experience, it's part of our evolutionary process. So you're going to be healing your thoughts, your beliefs, and your perception towards society, towards, the powers that be, towards any undoing of trauma that you've had or lessons that you've had in your life. You're going to move through experiences and perceive life a certain way. So, when we go through this awakening, I'm sure many of you have had it. Please let me know if you've had this in the comments. You think you figure it out, and then you have a meditation and you move through something and you're like, oh, it's not at all what I thought it was. Like, that happens to me all the time, even with the level that I'm at right now with teaching the science behind spirituality. All of a sudden, something takes it to another level. And I'm like, oh my God, I thought I had it figured out. It's this. And then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So there's pieces that you have to be surrender into releasing, letting go of, to move to these higher places. When you move into divine purpose, it can look like a lot of different things. So one, you've got to do your healing journey. Otherwise, you're never going to have it happen. If you're saying, I'm healed, I've done it, my inner child's fine, you're not going to get there because it's never done. It's never over. There's no destination. It's a journey, an endless, limitless journey. So you've got to do that work. You have to be aware of surrendering old thought patterns, old perceptions into consistently evolving into higher new ones. You have to fill your fucking bucket. You have to fulfill yourself. You have to understand what brings you joy. You have to understand what brings you pleasure, and you have to actively seek those things out. It's your balance. You do have to learn to fall in love with your ego. Your ego is a requirement for your human experience. So it is not about shunning the ego. The ego is like a wild stallion. If you ignore it, it will be an asshole in your house. If you love it, calm it, tame it, train it, you can mount it and arrive at your destination with more ease. Your ego is not something to be shunned at all. It hurts my heart that that information is in the world, that its ego's bad. And, when I hear people be like, oh, is it your ego talking? I'm like, well, thank you for showing me where you are. Okay. Because it's not about that. Your ego is an essential piece of your human experience. It's a beautiful thing when you get it calmed down. It helps you navigate. Anyways, that's a different conversation. So, loving and honoring your ego, supporting your ego, training your ego, using your ego, not death to ego. Um, if you want to look at, those of you that are in that phase of death to ego, it's really the death of an old perception, the belief that whatever, like letting go of old belief patterns and moving into new ones. That will help you move out of fear and into trust. So there's that process. Then there's putting into practice new ways of being. For you to truly evolve into your highest timeline, to ascend into your highest timeline, including divine purpose, you have to dedicate time to your awakening process. It means you have to schedule in. You don't have to do anything, but it's going to do you well, and you're going to arrive with a lot more ease if you schedule your meditations, your practice, and surrender into the way I teach meditation. Be no thing. I've been teaching that for a really long time. That's how I've always done it. I don't do guided meditations. I think there's great value in them. Absolutely, there is. And they were a powerful tool for me at one point. But as you navigate, you want to go into being no thing, surrendering into universal wisdom flowing through you, and your ego not labeling anything or really participating. The consciousness, the divine essence that you are, moving through the ego for you to understand universal wisdom, as well as your highest timeline. You'll get the visions, you'll get the downloads, but it takes a little bit of practice because we're not taught this. So it's something you'll navigate and master over time. So there's that piece. You have to set yourself up for success. I harp this all the time. So that looks like putting reminders on your phone. Am I in low vibration thought, or am I in high vibration thought? Am I in fear, or am I in trust? Am I in survival mode? When emotions surface, we want to look at them, be like, what is my being, my four bodies? We've got physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. That makes up the energetic body. Okay. All four of those. They will surface old cringy memories, right? Well, especially right before bed for some unknown reason. You get into bed and you're like, oh, that time though in grade 13 or grade 9 or whatever. Or ooh, that conversation with my ex. Like cringy things come up. The reason memories come up is so that that's your essence, your body's asking to heal something, to give attention to something. So there's something that wants to be healed in that space. I teach all of that in the program Fully Awaken and Ascend. There's so much content in that program. Oh my God. But it does talk about exactly what to do with those cringy memories, and how to transfer that energy into something high vibration. So you want to be able to do those things. So that's part of it, right? So that's a big chunk for you to sort of look at and be like, am I setting myself up for success? Am I loving and honoring my four bodies? Am I filling my bucket? Am I seeking joy? Am I seeking pleasure? Am I working on my definition of shame, guilt, or selfish? Am I fulfilling? Therefore, I have more to overflow, more to give to the world. And we hear statements like that, like, put on your oxygen mask first. You can't pour from an empty cup. Like, it's out there. We hear it, but we don't do it. Well, most of us don't do it. So I really want you to start navigating that journey. All right, divine purpose. What is divine purpose or soul purpose. It's an energy. So I look at it in two fashions when I help people launch into the world. One, it is a frequency. So it could be the energy of nurturing. If your predominant energy could be nurturing, your predominant energy could be wisdom, your predominant energy could be like information holder or whatever. So you're gonna, or it could be gratitude or whatever, right? So you're gonna have this predominant energy. Then that is going to sort of guide you into what does that look like for you. So the example of nurturing, if your predominant energy is to be a nurturer, if you have the biggest heart and you just love to give and it's amazing, one, set some boundaries and start to give to yourself. But nurturing can look like in your highest timeline or divine purpose, it can look like being a parent. It can look like being a lover. It can look like a caregiver, a doctor, a nurse. It can look like someone who does pedicures and facials. It can look like anything that is offering the energy of nurturing. It could look like someone who becomes famous for writing a book on nurturing self or nurturing the world, or writing a book on bumblebees because you love to nurture bumblebees and then you become famous for that. Like there's no limit as to how far or how big your purpose can be at all. It's up to you and your alignment with it. So if you have fears of being seen, understood, being valued, if there's fears attached to that, it'll stay small. It will. And you'll know that as you launch into divine purpose, you'll see your reflection in everything that is. So there is a vibrational component to it. The other piece that I love helping people figure out, oh, I love it, is what have you mastered? What have you gone through and you're on the other side of? With divine purpose, if you take nothing else away from this video, I want you to take this line right here. Ready? Divine purpose is taking people as far as you have gone. That's it. Take them as far as you are. And as you teach it, and as you help people arrive where you are, you will become an expert at that. And then you'll level up. And then your clients will level up. And then you'll level up. And then your clients will level up. It is limitless. You can take it as far as you desire. It's incredible, actually. Never in a million years, when I started my journey towards my highest timeline, originally, I just wanted to be of service. I wanted to help humanity. I was like, I don't know, like, I understand some spiritual stuff. I just want to teach it. And I'm born psychic. So I was like, I'll just use that as like my stepping stone. I'll just start doing psychic readings. And that quickly evolved into a lot of education that directed me into the position that I am now, where I own a huge mentoring company that's global. I didn't know that this is how big it was going to go. And now we're on the brink of something else that's huge, but that's about 6 months from sharing. So it just grows the same way you do. It evolves the same way you do. So I know very much the pain of aching for it. I know it so well. And I'm going to share some stepping stones that I went through because I find that they're very helpful for most of my students. The ache, it starts like this. So I started with, I know I'm meant for something. I don't know what it is. I can't fucking figure it out. And it would drive me crazy. It would hurt. It would burn in my body, this ache to be of service, to help humanity. And I couldn't figure it out. And I tried everything. Oh my God. I tried psychic readings. Actually, I was a little bit nervous to put that in the world because this is before it was talked about. Like, I think that was still very a witchy thing to do back then. But I started with, okay, I started in the corporate world, becoming a sales facilitator and teaching people how to sell from the heart instead of from, the desire for more money. Then I moved into personal confidant. Then I went back to school for my education. Then I moved into climbing the corporate ladder really rapidly and doing careers where a company would hire me and help me fix the company, which helped me help the employees. So I would go into multiple hidden positions within the company and act like I was a new hire, and go through the process and climb the corporate ladder. Always super fast. No one ever figured it out for some unknown reason. I don't know. And I would figure out what was wrong. What was wrong with the company? What was the morale of the associates? What was all of the things? And then I'd report back. And then all of a sudden, I'd be gone. And it would look like I got fired or I left or I moved or something. And they'd restructure. Um, but in my heart, I was like, I'm helping companies become more positive because there's a lot of negativity in the corporate world, right? So I went down that journey. Then I went into, I want to be a content creator. I had no fucking clue who that was. So I don't know what to do. Tried that for a long time, just bringing messaging forward. Then I had my psychic phenomenon that I shared in a few videos ago. And then I started writing books. And then I was like, oh, and then it got worse. It got so much worse because I had a glimpse of what it was and I couldn't launch. I couldn't figure out how to get clients. Then I discovered that I had limits, that I felt very unsafe to shine, which would sound completely insane if you actually knew me, because I have a huge personality. I'm a fucking know-it-all sometimes. Like my ego is like, oh no, this is the solution, da, 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 which was never taken well. But I have a big personality, but I was actually afraid of shining. I was afraid of really truly outshining other people based on my childhood. I didn't want to outshine my little sister. I had so much love for her. I never wanted to outshine her. So, and then, I mean, there was repercussions from my narcissistic parent if I did outshine her. So it wasn't safe for me. I would get sexually abused. I would get beaten by my father. Like all of these challenges if I shined a little bit. So as I was moving through this journey of trying to discover how do I be of service to the world, it was, there was a defining moment where my back got thrown out. This happened twice. My back got thrown out right up adjacent to my heart chakra. And I I was so depressed and couldn't cope. And all I wanted to do was sleep. And I looked at my life and nothing was working at that time. Nothing was working. I was unwell. I had a lot of disharmony in my body. I was in a really abusive narcissistic relationship. My children were not thriving either. It was hard. Um, I remember just aching and brainstorming and writing and writing and writing. And then I understood the law of inspired action. So I had notebooks everywhere, I had whiteboards everywhere, and inspired action would hit me. I'd put on music, I would move around to move my energy, and I'd start writing and writing and writing and writing. And I wrote Divine Alignment, our program, our top program, without even realizing that that's what was happening. So I want you to let inspired action move through you. Write it down in the same journal because you will refer back to that for the rest of your life. And you'll be like, holy shit, it was always there. Um, Again, I do things the long and hard way so that I can shorten the curve. So inspired action, I started understanding how that worked. Then I was trying so hard to make it work. I would try everything. And because I was in trying energy, what's the focus of trying energy? It's, I don't have it. I have to try harder. I have to be more. So the vibration was way off. And then I gave up. I ended up getting really, really, really unwell in my physical body. They told me I had 8 weeks to live. And I was like, man, I don't even love my body. I don't want to just be here for 8 more weeks, even though I thought that's what I wanted. I haven't traveled enough. I haven't fallen in love with my body. I don't even know what I love. So I quit my job. I sold everything I owned. Including my clothes, I donated an entire closet worth of stuff. I made sure I could live out of a suitcase and made sure my kids were good. And we went to Costa Rica and lived in Central America. And I was like, I'm not going. Like, I haven't lived. I haven't lived. And that's when I understood fill your bucket, because it's as soon as I did that, that it happened. As soon as I did that, one day I was sitting out on the back deck, and I was like, I had this concept, this idea of like, oh my gosh, like this is what I want to do. This is how I want it to look. I got a little itty bitty glimpse. And so I went running in for my journal, and I couldn't find it. But my inspiration journal, I found the one that I had taken all my notes in, which I'd forgotten that that's what that was. I just thought it was a random notebook. And I grabbed it and flipped it open to the empty page and started writing down these ideas that were moving through me. And then I realized, oh my gosh, that's actually divine alignment. And then I launched it, and it took off like wildfire. So it happens in phases. There's no direct path to divine purpose. There's no wrong path to divine purpose. There's no absolute, it has to be this or only this. It can be, if your mind can conceive it, you can receive it. Your mind cannot conceive the impossible. So if you can visualize it, if you can imagine it, it's yours. It's there for you. It means you're on your way to it. So there's a lot more attached to it that we're going to go over in the retreat. But these are some foundational things that were game changers for me going through my journey. And I wish someone let me tell you the amount of times I wanted to bang my head off the wall, and the amount of times I laid in bed crying, and the amount of times I felt hopeless and frustrated and angry and hopeful and inspired. And like, it was such a roller coaster to arrive here. And I wish someone would have told me just this, right? Like, it comes, you can't miss it. And there's these sayings of like, if it's meant for you, it won't pass you by. I'm going to call a little bit of bullshit on that one. Okay. If it's meant for you, there's no such thing as meant for you. You can create anything that you want. There is science behind spirituality. But if you are becoming self-aware, if you are consistently evaluating what beliefs are holding me back, if you are practicing, allowing downloads, uploads, universal wisdom, consciousness expansion, whatever you want to call that, wisdom to expand through you, and you're quieting this for a little bit. I do it every day. If you are understanding, where's my vibration? Am I low or high? Because the law of attraction is going to just respond to your vibration. If you do the healing and you allow these things to happen, you will align. It's impossible for you not to. Impossible for you not to. And it's not hard at all. It was so hard for me for most of my journey. It was a fight. It was an uphill battle, man. Like, so challenging and so scary. And once I understood all of this, it just unfolded, and it continues to unfold with absolute ease. I listen to my intuition, I check in with myself, and I fill my damn bucket. And I get to give to thousands of people a month. So yeah, it's not that hard. I promise you. I'm on the other side. I was there. I know I was there. I'm on the other side now. And I promise you, it is not as daunting, and it is not as hard as you think it is at all. So hopefully this helps. And I know that if someone had probably just thrown this at me when I was trying to figure it out, I'd be like, that's not helpful, but what do I do? What are my steps? Like, what do I actually do? I remember saying that so many times. So go fill your bucket. Start with that. I promise. I promise you'll see a huge shift in your life. All right, that's it for today. I'm going to go back to restructuring my schedule for the openings for the new mentorship program that's coming out. The retreat is tomorrow and Friday. So if you want the recording, catch that. You can just email us and we'll make sure you get the recording. And yeah, I did the energy forecast for the last week of September. It's a bit heavy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just a heads up. It's like, not in a bad way, just a little bit slow. There's not a lot of change, and there's a bit of anticipation. But Thursday and Friday's the full moon, the harvest full moon. So Thursday, you're going to feel a huge movement in your power, your fierceness, like your divine feminine, and heart expansion. So really look forward to the 28th, 29th. They're really powerful days. If you want more detailed information on that, the weekly forecast membership is available. It's so cheap too. Like I don't understand why we don't have a million people in it. It's so fucking cheap. But it's powerful. I wanted everybody to have access to it. So it is a day by night breakdown of what to do with the energy, and what to expect. So, anyways, it's going to be great vibes for those of us that are aware of it. For those of us that are not aware of it, it's going to feel a little bit dark, but it's all good. All right. Peace out. I love you. Continue to be brave, bold, raw, and remember that you are needed, you are loved. Don't stop dreaming. All right. We'll talk to you soon.